You've spent countless hours in the garage with your dad. Now investing in that old car and working on it with your son reminds you of him. And his legacy lives on. Fund your passion with a low-interest home equity line of credit from Bank of Blue Valley.
Oh,
whoa!
Whoa!
Look at that technology.
Technology, isn't it great?
Oh my gosh! Whoa! Are we at a rave or is this 3 o'clock on a Tuesday?
We're at a rave.
Are we bartending at a speakeasy as Tom Cruise and Patrick Swayze or what?
Lucky us. Yes. Hey, meteorologist Scott Havens, how are you?
Doing good, doing good. I found out in the pre-show that you did a little meteorology as well in college or just postgraduate, correct?
I did it while I was in college, and yeah, I wasn't very good at it. So yeah, I was never a meteorologist. I was just a glorified weatherman.
Interesting. So what, I mean, a lot of people that tune into this show MC a lot of events, you MC a lot of events. You know, how did it not correlate? Was it because you were young and inexperienced? Because I feel like you would have crushed meteorology.
I feel like I would have too. And then I kind of went down a different road. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just that I wasn't good at science. I always knew that I would never get my meteorological license. So, but yeah, it was fun. That was my introduction into television news. And so I've worked at like 35 stations, not really, but I've worked at many a station after that, but never in weather. So,
well, we have people already tuning in. We can see people watching, and it looks like we already have people commenting because our panel is so popular. So that's nice. So if you comment on anything, Michael will read it.
Hey, Brenda Poor says, hey, Karen Crnkovich. Hi, Karen. Excited to see you on here. And a friend of Brenda. Brenda is actually a friend of mine as well, because everyone is a friend of Brenda. And from Angela Van Hollen, Brenda, is there anyone you don't know? No, there is not. Brenda Poor knows everyone. Full stop. Thanks for playing. Hey, M2, that's from Paul Fogel. He was on Drinks with Leaders a while back, and one of my good
number
friends.
One fan.
I feel like all my friends are here. Everybody's checking in. Hey, Paul Fogel. Raquel Rick says, hey, it's Raquel from Kansas City watching from LinkedIn. Thanks, R squared from M squared.
That's right. And so literally, if you comment on it and it's borderline appropriate, we're going to read it. And it's all because of Bank of Blue Valley and Burns and McDonnell. So if you are looking for different opportunities, we do suggest going to their website or connecting with Michael and I. We'll connect you right with the head honchos. Burns and McDonnell hired over 1,600 people to start the summer, and they have over 2,000 open positions. So Bank of Blue Valley and Burns and Mac are running and gunning, but people didn't come here for us. They came here for the panel and to hear Michael Mackey, who will be driving the show. So, Michael, do you know that this is the first time we're ever doing this intro music that Sanders about to play?
Oh, okay. I did not.
Ooh, now we're ready to introduce the panel. Go ahead, Michael.
I'm going to let it play for a minute. All right. She chimed in first, so she is first up. It's Karen Crnkovich, owner and chief handshaker. Oh, I love that. Chief handshaker at DMC Service. Let's bring in Miss Karen. Golf clap for Miss Karen.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Hello. Talk to us, friend. We need hey, Scott, I'm sorry. Do I bring in everybody or do I talk to Karen first?
Bring them all in.
Bring them all in. Karen, you stand by. Standby stations. Up next is Caroline Markel Hammond. She's the founder and CEO of Faith in Harm's Way. Let's welcome the lovely and talented Caroline Markel Hammond. Golf clap.
Hello. I love that music. I needed like a strut to be able to walk into that music.
Wait, yes, it's just you got all the things. Up next, Andrew Tate, who is a investor agent at Kansas City Realty Services LLC. Andrew Tate, whose tagline is "Not that Andrew Tate." So there you go. I love it. Welcome, Andrew Tate.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Hey, Andrew Tate, not that Andrew Tate. Yay, welcome to the show. And finally, the infamous and legendary Sheila Seck. She's a managing partner and managing director at Seck and Associates. Welcome, Miss Sheila, or as I like to call her, S squared, because I am M squared.
Hey, M squared.
Hello, S squared. Welcome. Well, right off the bat, you guys, I kind of told you the drill. I want the 411. I want the who's he, what's it's on each and every one of you. So we're going to start with Miss Karen. Karen, talk to me, my friend. How long have you been in Kansas City? How did you get here? And more importantly, what do you do? Oh, from Harry Campbell. Hey, Karen from Harry Campbell.
Hey, Harry. I have been a resident of Johnson County for almost 20 years. Next year is my 20-year anniversary. And I got here because I had a great opportunity back in the days, 20 years ago. I was in the hotel business. And so I made my way here. And what do? I am the chief handshaker and owner of DMC Service. We are a primarily commercial heating, cooling, and plumbing company. And I love being a lady in the trades. And I've got some other kind of fun things going on.
So
now, how did you work your way into at DMC Service? Did you say it was your company?
It is. I am the sole owner. The short answer is I said yes. A little bit windy road, the answer, which I don't know. That's probably a podcast of itself, but it was a family business that I bought in a majority ownership 13 years ago and then bought the owner out 8 years ago.
Now, what was your goal when you jumped in by saying yes 13 years ago? What was your overarching goal?
Well, the overarching goal is that he needed help. So he is my ex-husband. Disclaimer, we are great friends. So it has been a really amicable and really supportive parting of a decoupling, if you will, to use the fancy term. But he needed a lot of help, and I had hit a brick road or a brick wall in my professional career. So I decided to go for it. And I really love when I got into the trades. I really found that I loved it and I loved the company. And then 8 years ago, when the opportunity came to buy him out, I saw an opportunity to build a different kind of culture within a trade organization, one that had a mission, vision, values, where the employees felt really proud of what they do. And I'm really excited to say that I've built that, and I have an incredible team.
Look at you checking all the boxes. I want to know, what are the pros, the unforeseen pros and cons of being in the trade industry?
Oh gosh. I mean, there are more pros than cons, I think, personally. One, because look, everyone we know needs AC in the summer, needs heating in the winter, and we all want our plumbing to work. I mean, this is not something that's going to be outsourced. AI is not going to come into your home and figure this out, at least not in our lifetime. So the trades, and I love the trades. It's a great opportunity for kids and men and women who maybe college isn't right for them, or maybe they're just not a desk job kind of person. Maybe they like working outside or working with their hands or being active, or maybe they just don't want college loans, because we know that's it's a big problem right now. The amount of debt that kids are needing to incur in order to go to college, and yet they can go into the trades and build a very, very, wonderful life that is prosperous and have a lot of fun doing it.
So, Karen, I know we only have so much time to get to all the guests, but what is the process for running for Congress, and why do you know about it?
Yes.
The process is raising your hand and saying yes and being brave enough to put yourself out there. I know about it because I am currently running for Congress in Kansas District 3. And I'm doing so for a lot of reasons. But the biggest one is we need more small business budget-minded people in Washington, D.C. And I personally believe that we deserve somebody representing us who really, really, truly cares about the community, but doesn't just say it, actually shows up and does it.
Well, Karen, hold on 1 second, and then we got to go move on. But there is a process, and it is really, really hard. Can you sum up the process? Because it's not anyone can run for Congress. It's incredibly hard.
Well, you've got to put the right team together. You've got to, I went to a campaign school. And so there's, yes, there is a process. The biggest one is you've got to put the right people in place, because the Federal Election Commission has a lot of rules that you've got to follow. So making sure you have a treasurer and consultants and campaign managers, and then talking to every single person you've ever met in your entire life and trying to get them to support you, to donate. Because here's the thing, people running for elections, and we all know this because there's an election coming up next year, and I'm sure we're all getting text messages from all the people asking for donations. Those people, generally speaking, especially at this level, are not self-funding. Now, some people do, but I am not. And so it's talking to everybody and saying, hey, can you give some money so I can get across the line? I don't want to hog up.
We don't need to dive into it, but the point is there's a lot of work, and it's incredibly hard, and it's super impressive, and we can't thank you enough for being on the show.
And I love that you have Chief Handshaker in your title, because you just need Chief Handshaker and Baby Kisser, and then you'd be set, because it's all about kissing babies and shaking hands, right?
It is. I spend 12, 13 hours a day talking to people.
Duly noted. All right. Up next is Caroline Markel Hammond. She's the founder and CEO of Safe in Harm's Way. And first off the bat, Caroline, which congressional district are you running for? So
I have yet to decide. I think I'm in the 7th, so I'll be doing some homework. I love the idea of women represented and running for that. So go, Karen, go.
Go, Karen, go. Right. So, Caroline, right off the bat, where are you from? How did you land in Kansas City? And more importantly, what do you do, dear?
So I am from St. Louis, and I lived there my entire life until around about 2010 when I moved to Kansas City. Side note, my children and I have decided we have to stop saying we just moved to Kansas City. It's been 13 years. So think this is our home. I left St. Louis because I had spent almost 2.5 decades in pharmaceutical sales. That moment at that time, there was a lot of job loss, a lot of flux in the pharmaceutical industry. And I received a job offer from a hallmark Kansas City company called Feral Gas. So I looked at it as an opportunity to exit pharma and get into an industry so I could maybe navigate a little bit easier road, develop a sales team. I worked on their national accounts. It was a great opportunity. And then they had the warmest winter in 112 years. And Steve Wambolt was the CEO at the time. And he came to me and he said, Caroline, we love that you moved to Kansas City for this. We love what you're doing. I'm going to ask you for first right of refusal. But you'll notice a lot of people are not employed with us anymore, including the gentleman who hired me. And so within 2 weeks, I got a call from an old manager in pharmaceuticals, and she just drugged me back into it. But as of, it'll be 2 years in October, I left the pharmaceutical world and decided to devote myself full-time to really working at my for-purpose organization called Safe in Harm's Way. And so I've been doing that full-time ever since.
Tell me everything. I'm not familiar with Safe in Harm's Way. I apologize. So tell our lovely viewers what exactly you do and what that entails.
Sure. So safeinharmsway.org is the best way to find us. And what we do entirely across our mission, our vision of values, is we target the feelings of sadness, worry, lies, screaming, fear, and pain, which are also the hallmark red flags of toxic relationships and abuse. And what we do is we take our services, which are either at low cost or free. We have born and raised in Kansas City. We call that our hometown now, but we are across the country. And our services allow people to find the health, the peace, the healing they need for themselves, their children, and their pets. But we do it in a unique way, disrupts complacency, because we're really kind of tired of lives being lost to the scourge of domestic violence. And so we really keep a focus on the most marginalized people facing the biggest disparities, and that includes transportation, mobility, economics, and access to care. So you're going to find us in really unique places so that people organically recognize those feelings and be able to find the solutions they need for their entire family.
I was just going to say, how do people find out about you? And more importantly, how can they reach out if somebody, say a viewer, wants to share the information?
Well, there's 3 ways to reach out. The first one is just to go to safeandharmsway.org. You can sign up for our newsletter. That has everything you would need. Do you want to know how to heal in meditation, in eating right, in exercising, in art? All of the services are on there. Do you need to be connected to a local resource because you're looking for actually being able to shelter someplace? The reason that we do everything online and we can get people into affinity groups led by folks who look like them and identify them, we can get people into therapy services quickly, is because, well, our local community has amazing shelters, and I do get to work really closely with a couple of them. Oftentimes there is no room at the inn, and oftentimes people go back 7 or more times. So Safe and Harm's Way is built for people to access in those tiny, quiet moments when they have peace away from their abuser, so they can chart a pathway that may take a while to implement, but that they'll get there for themselves, their children, and their pets. So they can find us at safeandharmsway.org. We have an Instagram or a Facebook influencer community. We're about 175 people strong. It's a private group called #SmartWarriors. So social media action response team. Those people take our content and share it to their organizations, their networks, because the best way for people to find out about services is from those they love and trust. When we implemented just a fraction of that in one of our campaigns, we did it on Instagram, we disrupted 4.5 million Instagram accounts,
Wow.
which led to an over 1,000% increase in access to our services. So if people think that just by sharing content, and I write it and I put it out, all you got to do is copy and paste and use our hashtags, people find us. And so that's another beautiful part of way they can find us. But the biggest thing is that they can look at our microsite called thelastimsorry.com. And it's the first and only site across this country that identifies men, women, people of color, the queer community, English as a secondary language, and people who are medically compromised. They go through an algorithm. They choose, they can say, I'm a queer woman, I'm in this part of the country, I'm having this problem, and they will get fed to immediate and actionable steps that they can take for their safety right away. We're the only organization that does that in this country, and it's easy to find, thelastimsorry.com.
Were there when you started this, when you went on this journey and started this organization 2 years ago, what has been the biggest surprise from its infancy to now?
Well, actually, I'm full-time doing it now for 2 years, but I started it in 2018. The biggest thing, and being very transparent, is that some of the bigger national organizations will shoot slings and arrows at the local advocates doing really hard work. And when we have not been able to reduce the incidences of homicide in this country in 40 years, the last thing we need is people competing against each other or disparaging the work that is being done, because we divide and we do not conquer. And the shock of that, the shock of the number of conferences I've gone to, and I've said to people, I didn't tolerate mean girls in the 7th grade. I do not tolerate it when I'm 54. I'd be rich if I started taking bets on that. And so that was the biggest shock to me. And it's painful to watch, but I'm determined to figure out a way to change that as well.
Duly noted. Scott, chime in.
I was just curious. You answered it a little bit, but I think you're doing it from a nationwide perspective. I feel like the 7 domestic violence shelters here locally do a really good job of communicating with each other for when there's beds for shelter. So you already probably answered the question, but how have you found it locally? I know nationally you talked about it not being good, but what about local? Have you found support and camaraderie and collaboration?
I'm having lunch tomorrow with Anna Abashan at Hope House. So people getting together with folks, local community. But I think Kansas City is different. Could I think that there's room for us all to be better? Heck yeah. But Kansas City is different in the way that we communicate. And I have really great relationships with Newhouse and with Hope House, with other organizations in the Kansas City community that see us as an adjunct therapy. And one of the ways we're doing it, I hope I'll get to talk about it later, is we will actually be in shelters across the country by the end of this month. So we'll have a lot of built-in opportunities to be able to meet people across the nation in each shelter.
All right, we're going to move along with Michael, but that's a softball lead-in. Michael and I will take.
All right, up next, Andrew Tate, investor agent at Kansas City Realty Services. Andrew, you know I love you, and I love your tagline, not that Andrew Tate. Every time I see that, it still makes me laugh.
Well, yeah, I know a lot of people. So I'm 40, and people my age or older, a lot of times aren't familiar with who the other Andrew Tate is. But people younger, if you're under 30, you definitely know who he is, and he's not great.
Explain it for the audience, but also what was your former tagline that I loved?
You love that, Havens. My former tagline, which it was truly original, was the John Stockton of business, meaning, and how can I assist yours? He's the all-time assist leader in the NBA. And he's also, for NBA, by NBA standards, a shorter white guy, which means probably 6'2" or 6'3". I'm 5'7", so I identify with John Stockton, not the misogynist Andrew Tate.
The John Stockton analogy would have went whoop right over my head. So
right.
Just so we're all on the same page. Hey, so like I asked our other two panelists, where did you come from? How did you get to Kansas City? And more importantly, what do you do at Kansas City Realty Services?
What do I even do? Some days I don't even know. I grew up here and lived here almost my entire life. I've got family in the Atlanta metro. And so right before high school, my family moved down there, and I decided to come back for college and went to Rutgers University and have been here ever since. And then my parents, brother and sister, moved back as I was graduating. So it worked out. So for the last 3.5 years or so, I have been in real estate. And before that, had almost a decade kind of in the energy space, helping businesses lower energy costs. Karen spent a couple of years at P1 Group, so I know a little bit about your world. But the last 3 years, I've been focused on housing and choosing to go after affordable housing, community development type stuff. But I am not an engineer. I'm not an architect. I'm not a project manager. I can barely swing a hammer. So how am I going to get experience in this world when I crack open the business journal and see all these cool projects people are working on? Well, kind of sales, right? That's always been my thing, networking and sales. So as an investor agent, I'm learning and have been learning and practicing real estate as an agent for investors. And the catch-22 that I've run into is I want to do community impact, developer things in real estate. Real estate is such a wonderful opportunity to do good in business, or to do well in business and good in the community at the same time, I believe. And I've found that there's not that many people in the middle. You've got people doing real estate at a very high level. I'm trying to see how much screen I've got here. Here's one side. People doing real estate at a very high level here. And then there we go. People on the other side are the communities, the neighborhoods, and what do they actually want? There's not many people playing in that middle space. And so I'm really reaching towards helping people buy their first homes, their first investment property after that, getting them into this game of appreciation in the housing market. And so I've gotten really good at analyzing deals, finding off-market deals, helping, honestly, a lot of out-of-town investors, and making sure that the investors I'm working with are ones that care, and ultimately reaching towards development projects that partnering with neighborhoods after finding out what they want, what they need, not coming up with a solution of being like, here, let me help you save your neighborhood. That is the plan. And I've been working towards that. And one way, acting as an agent for investors, acting as a contractor for investors, managing, kind of being their general contractor, doing some flips here and there. And really how I'm reaching towards more of the development stuff, you build up capital, you get financing, or you get partners. So working on all of that. But one new thing to report that's pretty cool is, so I did the Centurions program and graduated last January. Recently got on the alumni board, and I'm co-chairing the civics committee.
Oh, nice.
It's going to be great because it's really, with the chamber's budget, thank you, we're going to be able to create panel discussions, keynote speakers. And my hope is that we can tackle some stuff that, really big, hairy topics that people can't agree on, and we're a community. It's not just KCMO. It's the greater region. And we need to talk about affordable housing. We need to talk about education. We need to talk about healthcare. And we got to talk about all sides of that. Why people in Johnson County should care about what's going on in Jackson County, why people in Jackson County should also, conversely care about what's going on in Wyandotte County, and not just take the left point of view or the right point of view or play centrist, but truly bring people from all parts of the political spectrum, socioeconomic backgrounds, and have these tough conversations in a safe place where people aren't going to be afraid of getting misquoted and dragged through the mud, as so often happens. But that's kind of the update on my end and what I'm working on these days.
Do you have a mostest, favoritist part of your job, of what you do?
Mostest, favoritist part. Well, it's funny.
Can't say people. Can't say people.
Say what?
Can't say people.
Can't say people. Okay, I won't say the people, but I mean, I got into real estate for freedom and flexibility and fun, and quickly realized there's not a lot of freedom and flexibility when you're an agent for other people. So when I'm working on my own stuff, that's my favorite. You know, if it's my project, it just feels good. I just like working for myself, and that's a newer thing for me over the last couple of years. So yeah, I like being able to set my own schedule, and really, it's I'm just, here I am. This is what I wear for work. And when I go out, you know, whether it's networking, my friends, or driving revenue for myself, it's all the same person. And so I love that it can just be one. So it's kind of a holistic, so there's no retirement. When we get to that question, I won't spoil it. I'm doing what I love, and I'll be doing it until I can't anymore.
How long did it take before you realized, I think I'm pretty darn good at this?
I love that question, because I don't know, every 6 or 9 months, I'm like, I made it. And then, you get a big old healthy helping of humble pie and realize you haven't. You got a long way to go. There's always going to be more to go. Did I answer the question? Maybe not.
One quick question I do want to ask, and I don't know if you have an answer for it, but you're so kind and you're so helpful for everyone. So to sit back in your couch as you reflect, is there something that's innate in you or something from childhood? Why do you feel like you're so kind to others? Does it come from somewhere?
Yeah, because you really are, young man. So just
young man. I bet I'm older than you. Thank you guys for saying that. That's really kind. A couple places that came from. I was raised Catholic, grew up Catholic. My grandpa was a big influence in the family and in the community, and kind of giving back. And then also the Boy Scouts, now just the Scouts, but leaving it cleaner than you found it. Pack out more than you packed in. And we talked about that for campsites. But my whole thing is, why not everything? Why not every relationship, every friendship, every business deal, every social interaction? Leave it a little bit better than you found it. And if we all did that, right? If we all just picked up a gum wrapper as we're walking down the street, the city would be clean. If everyone did that, it would be better. And so that's kind of, that keeps me on the straight and narrow, and also just looking through the lens of like, am I being a good dad? Am I being a good example for my daughter? That keeps me out of trouble.
So that's not a polished answer for the audience. It really is every interaction he does. So
from Paul Fogel, Andrew is a great guy who thankfully knows how to stay in his lane. That's high praise coming from Paul. You just take it where you can get it, Andrew. Take it where you can get it.
Man, I'm just trying to do a Paul Fogel impersonation when it comes to development and real estate. That dude knows it, and that means a lot coming from you, Paul. Thank you.
All right. Last but certainly not least, let's introduce Sheila Seck, who is the managing partner and managing director at Seck & Associates. Sheila, the last S squared. That's what I'm calling you because I'm M squared. S squared, the last time I saw you, we were shooting a podcast together. It was the best day of my life. What about you?
Mine too, M squared. I still have fond memories.
Those were good times. All right. So how did you end up in Kansas City? How long have you been here? And more importantly, what do you do these days?
So I grew up near St. Louis as well, like Caroline, but I came here right after college. I went to Missouri School of Science and Technology, where I was an engineer. And, if your sponsor needs to hire one, I might be ready to get out of law. Just kidding.
Nice, shameless plug. I love it.
And then moved here right after undergrad. So I've lived in Kansas City my whole adult life, and I consider it at home, and I love the city so much. So I definitely consider this my home. But I did leave to go back to Wash U in St. Louis for law school, and then have been practicing in business law, mergers and acquisitions, all kinds of tech startups. And we've launched a company recently that we help clients sell their businesses. There are so many people who are looking for an exit strategy. And I think because of our extensive mergers and acquisition experience, we've been a lot of help to those people. When you're selling your baby and your life work, you want someone who's compassionate and can hold your hand through that process. And that's the partner we try to be through that process. So it's been a really great experience.
What's it like being in the space that you're in? I mean, you are literally the hardest working woman in show business, I feel.
Do I look tired?
No, not implying you look tired, but you are the hardest working woman, one of the hardest working women I know, full stop.
No, it's really fun. I say I get to practice the fun area of law, not in litigation where you're trying to beat someone up every day. In the work that I do, it's very win-win. You know, if you sell your company and somebody is a buyer and my client gets a bunch of cash at the end of the day, we're drinking champagne. So while there's a lot of hard work, it's typically just such a win-win for everyone. That's why I probably love it so much and what makes all the grind worth it. So, you know, I do have a passion for helping like people start their companies and grow them, raise money, sell. You know, there's so much involved in that. And it's been really fun as the tech world and startup world in Kansas City has grown. It's been great to see that as well.
Do you see yourself as like a mentor sometimes, or do you just want to put out that entrepreneurial spirit and share it with the world?
Yeah, both. Because sometimes I have clients and I feel like I am the adult in the room. And, you know, sometimes they're so young. And so, you know, they just don't know what they don't know. So sometimes I do feel that way. And then I also have people who've sold 2 companies or 3 before. And so they're pretty sophisticated and know what they're doing. And that's much more of a collaboration experience versus like a mentoring experience. So it depends on the client, but we do both.
I'm putting you on the spot here. What's the absolute weirdest time that your law degree came in handy?
Oh my gosh. I'll have to think about that for a minute. You know, business law is not that like, there's not that much weird stuff.
It's not that riveting, but I thought there'd be a story in there somewhere, S squared. So noodle on
there probably is, but I've probably just numbed.
You probably blocked it. Okay, duly noted.
It's more like
Mitch Case says it's the Holy Powerhouse Crew. Thanks.
Hey, Mitch. I'm on Mitch's advisory board. Everyone, order. It's more than a meal. It's a great organization. It's a great company with a great mission. So I love Mitch.
And from Nick always chimes in.
Always.
Oh, well, I didn't get a chance to read what he said. Oh, there he is. A lot of people showing out to see this awesome panel and 2 great hosts. Thanks, Nick Knack. We appreciate you.
Like, I think I'm positive until I see Nick. And then I go, gosh, maybe I'm an old cynic in comparison because he's so positive.
You are preaching to the choir, sister. He is one of the most positive people I know. Any questions for Sheila, Scott?
So, Sheila, I've been in the Sheila Seck School of Mentorship for 9-10 years. One of the first people I met in Kansas City that was really helpful and kind. So thank you, Sheila, for everything that you've done. The question I have for you is on, you know, you've always been a powerhouse of one, but you've scaled your firm over the last 6-7 years. How is that possible? I know a lot of people that are in your space tried to do that. So how have you scaled your firm?
It's a challenge. I must say we're hiring. If there are any corporate lawyers on this program, please send me your resume today.
Now.
We are now. We're also looking for a great paralegal. So it is hard. We just try to do good work. Often our associates are recruited to larger firms once they get good training. That's a tough challenge all the time. So I can't say we are successful, but we try to have a great environment, have great benefits, all those things that we all do to grow our teams during this tight job market. Hopefully it's loosening up a tiny bit.
Fingers crossed. Yes.
Fingers crossed. Yes. Yes. But thanks for that. And I do remember meeting you when you were like 12.
Yeah, it was, I always told everyone I was hungover till Wednesday just because, you know, it's Thursday through Sunday drinking in your 20s is kind of hard. So, you know, but no, she was super, super kind and many coffees at the Overland Park Marriott, as I'm sure many other people have done as well.
Yes, yes.
Quickly from Omar Molina. Hi, everyone. It's nice to hear about your stories. Thank you, Omar.
Hi, Omar.
Hey, Omar. And if you guys get a chance, don't forget to chime in where you're watching us from. Some of you are chiming in from LinkedIn, some of you from YouTube. So we'd love to know where you guys are watching the show from today.
Now, Michael, the unique thing is we don't know the Burns McDonnell question of the day because it could be the one we played in the pre-show and it could not. So we're about to see. We're about to see what's going to go down.
It's like the Fleetwood Mac song. We can go our own way. So yes,
that's right. And so Karen, you will, once Sandra plays the clip, you will pick up and answer the question. And then Caroline, we'll feed you the question again. As always, Michael will be driving the show.
Is there music?
We'll
Hi.
Oh,
I missed
see,
it.
you know, yeah, we're going to try it again. You know,
Hi, my name's Megan Johnson. I'm a technical recruiter for Burns & Mac, looking for the best and brightest talent nationwide. My question of the day is, what's your one superpower that makes you stand out in front of others?
ooh, sneaky. That was a new question. You guys were not prepared for that. So better start noodling. Oh, Karen, up first. What is your superpower that you never knew you had?
Well, I can't say I never knew I had this because I've kind of known my whole life I've had it, but I am like the number one cheerleader. When you guys are feeling down, when you need a kick in the pants, when you need a rah-rah, you can do this. I am your girl. And yes, I've got pom-poms that I carry around. And
Do you have a motivational theme song? Like, what's your motivational theme song?
It depends. I have several. It depends on the what I'm going to do. But I will say I had something that I was going to recently. I won't say what, but I kind of wanted to really show up and like bring it. And Pretty Girls Walk Like This was kind of like what I had to listen to like get in the right mind space to show up and be super confident. But I have many. I have many.
Well, I think
songs.
another one of your superpowers is picking the right song because that is a good choice. So, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Caroline, what is your superpower? One that you didn't necessarily ever knew you had?
Well, I am my father's daughter, and Ron Markel was the ultimate connector. Like, he knew people's kids. He knew what activities they did. He knew who their parents were. He talked with everyone. It was so great growing up, and it was really great to watch my kids watch him. I remember my youngest saying, I think Papa's like a butterfly. He just floats between everybody and knows all the things about them. And I have that gift, and it comes directly from him. So there are people I still am in touch with from meeting at 3 years old. There are people who have come out of the woodwork for safeandharmsway.org. Somebody I knew in college and called me up and said, hey, I do voiceover work. Can I do all the voiceovers for your podcast? I had somebody who had billboards, which started us on this billboard trajectory, that said, I have 8 billboards. What would you do with them for Safe and Harm's Way? And it's just the connection that comes automatically that I don't even realize it's doing it until as I got older, I'm like, oh, I'm my dad, which I think is kind of cool.
yeah, Caroline, 2 questions is one is you got to pump the podcast. So tell everyone, plug the podcast, when's it on? And then number 2, have you or your father ever read Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People?
Yes, we have read that book, and it was, we used to get to talk about it back and forth, and he would always share things with me that I should read or I should know, and of course, as the connector. So yeah, that is one of them. And the podcast is called Intentionally Fearless. That's something that we talk about at Safe and Harm's Way. As a survivor myself, I could have chosen to live in fear, and he still could have found me. And I could have chosen to do what I do, and he could still find me. So Intentionally Fearless is the name of the podcast, and it's what we do. Kind of permeates everything at Safe and Harm's Way.
Caroline, I do love a good social butterfly. I'm really more of a social caterpillar. Like, I'll just go into a room and park it, and you got to come to me. So that's my motto. So, but I do love a good social butterfly.
Interesting.
I know you've seen it in action, Scott.
Well, I see it in action all the time, but yeah, I just always thought
action,
after a long day, you're just kind of like, I'm just going to hang out.
I'm just going to sit my butt here and wait for people to come to me. Andrew, up next. Andrew, your superpower, young man, and more importantly, you didn't necessarily knew you had one.
Yeah, social caterpillar. I love that. Kind of similar to Haven's, I believe, and probably you as well, into energy and enthusiasm. And some of that, it was self-defense mechanism as a kid. Some of that is just my natural personality. I remember the very first time someone said, you're really optimistic. And I thought I was just kind of saying, F it, who cares? but my energy and enthusiasm, which I would tell you earlier on in my sales career, can help you get indoors, but people think you're kind of full of it. People think you're cheesy or you're being inauthentic. And so I will say, while it is a superpower for me, it kind of can make it harder for people to open up to me because they're like, oh, typical sales guy. But my energy, my enthusiasm, I am an optimist. I'm trying to find the silver lining in things while still being a realist. I got a motor and I can go. And that's, there's so many parts of the sales process and business in general I'm not good at. To Paul's point about me staying in my lane, I'm terrible at a lot of things. But my energy, my grit, my won't ever quit can carry me through. And that's how I've quoted in the past, not by skill.
Your energy, your enthusiasm is palpable. And the best part is that the older you get a little bit more seasoned in it. And so I think people will gravitate towards that, and they will never see it as inauthentic. I get such a kick out of you ever since I very first met you. It was like jazz hand, spirit fingers. So good on you.
I'm about it. Yes. And thank you for all those kind words. It is getting a little bit easier because there's also track record. And, when there's people that can vouch for you, like a Havens, it gives you credibility, and people that might be kind of like, I don't know, he's telling me what I want to hear. Is he really for real? More of a known entity. So yeah, I agree. And thank you for all those.
You're welcome. And if you have the Havens seal of approval, you're in. I mean, come on.
He says so much.
Did you hang out at bars too much?
Yes. All right. S squared, last but not least, like we said, superpower, and you may not have necessarily known that you had it.
No, so I would say I'm similar to Andrew in that I am very optimistic, and along with that is super positivity. And also I am always certain if I want to do something, I can figure out a way to get it done. So it is, I would say, whether it's resilience, grit, optimism, I'm pretty sure that, whatever I want to do, probably like all the people shaking their head, if you're an entrepreneur, if you own your own business, if you launch a podcast, of course you are, because, your first podcast is probably terrible. Your first M&A deal is probably not very well drafted, but as you get to become an expert or so much better. So I definitely think that, and also I feel like I have had that feeling like Andrew, like I like people so much, and I start with like, you're my new best friend, and it has to be whittled away after that. The people do sometimes probably feel like that's authentic, but I pretty much will love you when I meet you, unless, later something happens. So I do think if you're a glass empty and you start from not that way, it does feel inauthentic because your energies may not match, but I typically love meeting new people as well. And the thought of like sitting still at a party while people come to me kind of gives me anxiety, because I would want to be walking around the party. Anyone else here felt the same way? Like not a caterpillar.
Interesting. That's a whole nother topic of sitting down on the couch, because you take a bunch of different ways. Maybe, Michael, you're confident and you let people come to you. Yeah. And then Sheila, you are also very confident as well. So that's unique. I don't know.
I just want to see a lot of different people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Which is an art to be able to work a room. And that's hard.
Like sometimes I'll see people who are just having the best time and they've been in the same spot. So I don't think there's a right or wrong. And I'm thinking, wow, that's cool. They're in the same spot. And I'm, 20 different locations.
Do you crazy cats? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Scott.
Anyone watching, whether you're having a beverage or not a beverage, a great place to be is by a station, whether it's name tags or food or mead, the bar. And so you're at the bar and you just hang out. So everyone has to come. You get to see everyone. So it's kind of like a wedding line, but the wedding line, everyone comes to you. Yeah. So it's, instead of working the room or standing back as a social caterpillar, you just hang out where the crossroads are. Sorry, Michael, you were going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, do you guys want me to ask with Scott, what is your superpower that you didn't know that you had?
So I'm dyslexic, and so I sought positive reinforcement socially or in athletics as a kid. So I naturally, as a defense mechanism, I think Andrew brought it up earlier, I loved gathering people, because I knew if I gathered people, then I wouldn't have to show that I wasn't able to perform academically or in another situation. So I think, your weaknesses sometimes can become your strength. Michael, what is a superpower that you have?
Oh my gosh, mine is easy. I can talk to anybody about anything for any length of time. Full stop. That's
oh my gosh. Yeah, that's why one of your best friends, who's my neighbor, you guys are best friends. I'm the same way. So, but as we talk about, what our goals are, I can't believe we're already through August of 2023. Karen, you kind of got a big goal. So, obviously everyone else is going to give their business goal. This is a business show, but please combine personal and professional. What are your goals?
Karen, just spitball, just anything that comes to mind randomly.
Yeah, there may be one thing.
For this year, for the next whatever is left, 5 months, 4.5 months, it's meeting as many people as I can. A big part of this campaign is one, fundraising. I got to raise money. If anybody wants to give it to me, we'll happily put it in the pile. But really, the grassroots is so important, and getting to literally meet as many people as I can, talk to them about why I'm running, why I would be a great congresswoman, how, it doesn't matter to me which way you lean. I'll tell you what I believe. We can, meet in the middle. But we need change in DC. And the only way to change that is for me to share my story and convince people, win over hearts and minds, one conversation at a time. So I appreciate the opportunity to share that, but just meet literally as many people as I can. So when you guys are talking about networking, like I have to go into every room now. And if there's 50 people there, it is my mission to meet all 50 people. And so I would love to sit back at the bar and let people come to me. But as a candidate, I have to take the initiative to go and seek everyone out.
All right, Caroline, goals for 2023 into 2024, hit me.
2023 into 2024, two main goals. The first goal is to really grow our donation base. When safeandharmsway.org started, when we actually took off, it was the start of COVID, and donations were just not happening. And so I made a pivot to pursue partnerships with organizations. So I was able to grow those partnerships of time and talent donated by organizations from about donations of about 15,000 and will be over 4 million at the end of this year. Donations of people giving us their money to round out our services, not so much, because it's really hard for us to get grants. We are nationwide, so to get a specific grant in a specific area, it's really difficult to convince people that we're going to do that. And I'll say, I'll fill out your 20 pounds of paperwork to show that, but it's a bigger sell. So doing some one-on-one private dinners that people are hosting me at, we're getting donations that way. Doing an ungala, which we're trying to figure out what that looks like, is something that we're doing to raise those funds as well. So it's to raise the monetary donations to reflect what we're getting in in-kind donations from corporate sponsors is the biggest one. And the other one is to really launch bigger our Smart Warrior program. If we can disrupt 4.5 million accounts on Instagram, what could we do if we had another 150 to 200 Smart Warriors publishing? So those are our two main goals.
Real talk, what's on the highest of highs of your wish list?
The highest of highs? You mean on that wish list, or do you mean? You
pick. I'm just saying, if there were at the ultimate, the zenith of your wish list, what would it be?
It would be to have the most spectacular way to bring people together in a gala formation that isn't quite a gala. And I say that because with working with survivors, when there are oftentimes not a place for them to live, and they're all on social media, and they say it's really difficult to see everybody dressed up at an event, having dinner and having champagne and talking about raising money for survivors when I'm about to lose my home with my two boys. So how can I do something that is un-gala, but still gets us to tell the stories and our unique contributions, our data and outcome in a way that inspires people to donate their hard-earned cash, and also isn't really hanging over the heads of anybody who sees it on social media when they are really lacking in services that we're trying to provide.
Duly noted. Scott. Andrew, squad goals for 2023 into 2024.
Squad goals. It's funny. This truly was a question we didn't know was coming. And I kid you not, just a couple hours ago, I was kind of going on, where am I at this year on revenue? What's in the pipeline? what do I still need to go get to be able to have my 2024 plan? I'm kind of starting that right now. And the reason I'm doing that is because back to my, when I think I've made it moment, I had one of those kind of like in the spring, like filing my taxes, second year, of 1099 filed. I'm filing some W-9s. I'm going to get some good financing, rocking and rolling on my own projects. Not quite. And so that's the plan for next year. That's the big stretch goal for me. And so it's a little bit of back to the basics. Again, humble pie, back to the basics, agent duties, contracting duties for other people, not my own stuff. And I'm grinding it out with my business partner. And we're there. Like the revenue goal I really need for this year, the pipeline that's like, things under contract that will close. It's there. And so gravy on top of that and stretching towards more of those bigger, sexier projects next year that will be mine.
Bigger, sexier projects.
And not for the money, but just because anyways, just less cooks in the kitchen. It'll be great.
Preach. Sheila, what are you flexing on? What are your goals for 2023, 2024?
Well, always looking to have a little bit more work-life balance, although I do have a great life. What am I saying? I mean, like I do a lot of stuff.
Are you overlooking the plaza right now from your condo?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're killing it.
I know.
You're going to go on a walk and get yourself a drink. And then
exactly.
20 happy hours. Yeah.
But I do sometimes want to have more balance. And but like Andrew, we hope to find some great buyers for the companies we're selling. We want to continue to be a resource for entrepreneurs in Kansas City and outside the city. And we also have some big goals. We'd love to continue growing our team. And so there's always more goals and more things to be done.
Well, I hope you and Andrew each just have one monster deal, and then you're just like, okay, I'll do another goal down the road. So that always helps as well.
And both Karen
goes through 2024. Yeah, exactly. No, good.
And back to Caroline's goal, like it's really hard to find. Like I hope she finds something creative because I think people would like something an alternative to a gala, and what a great goal to have. And maybe someone listening will come up with a great idea because I think that's an interesting way to put it. That the people you serve or sometimes don't, kind of see the incongruence of people going to fancy balls.
That's right. So giving Sandra a little bit of a heads up here, and then Michael's going to close the show. But before we do that, we'll have a couple minutes here because I want everyone to ask. I want to ask an icebreaker that's fun, but I also want everyone to give a tip about how they're using artificial intelligence in a positive way. The whole time everyone was talking, I just kept thinking to myself, everyone here is using AI because a lot of what we do, we're all running our own businesses per se. And AI has been a great tool to enhance that, whether it's communication, contracts reviews, grant writing, proposals, et cetera, et cetera. So for just to give Karen a little bit of time and everyone else a little bit of time, and then Michael and I will answer our favorite piece of candy. But hold on one second. Benchmarking compensation, you can now go to AI and it can use all the compensation tools. So if you're looking, like Sheila, looking to hire, you can find out what that is through AI. So Karen, what is your favorite piece of candy? And what's a tip that AI, artificial intelligence, you use to help you in your business?
Oh my gosh. Okay. My favorite piece of candy, this is like, okay. No judgments. This is a judgment-free zone. You know what I really love that is so disgusting you can't even find anymore are circus peanuts. I know.
What?
Yeah.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
All right, a tip on AI. We got to keep going. We got.
Okay. The tip on AI. I use it for research.
Okay. So
I didn't hear anything after circus peanuts. All right, Caroline. Up.
Red Twizzlers licorice.
What kind of licorice?
Red Twizzlers, the rope kind, not the nuggets and not the strings. It's got to be the rope. I can eat an entire pound bag myself. AI, I am using it to just double check every content I write and finding it does it better than me.
It enhances. It's not better. It just enhances.
Thank you.
Andrew, Candy, AI, go.
Candy AI. So I'm going to go Milk Duds. And I know that sounds lame, but the reason is they don't melt in your hand or your pocket. You can get them at every movie theater. And so gets my chocolate fix. And then AI. So I'm not using a ton of AI right now. I do kind of play to the algorithms that feed us stuff via social media and shopping. But I would say listing copy. I know a lot of real estate agents do that. It's a 3-bed, 1.5 bath in this part of town. And, doop, 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 chat GPT. And it's like, it's a real charmer. I'm telling you, a lot of agents are doing that in listings. But I also see huge implications for AI on culling through data for real estate. And I hope to be able to eventually, when I get to some more pay me later stuff, utilize that to kind of keep investment properties local. And there's always going to be out of town investment, but would love to see even more local investment.
Miss Sheila, Candy,
Trader Joe's swimmers, if you've ever gotten those.
Go dive in. What is that?
They're like chewy. I forget what they're kind of like Swedish goldfish, different enough. Like you cannot buy them when they're on the end cap and you're checking out because I will eat the whole thing. And M&Ms, of course, the old traditional.
Oh, it's a standby. And what about AI?
Sort of like sometimes for writing like marketing content, because I'm not a marketing person. I'm an engineer and a lawyer. So, 1x plus y equals z. So it's not that exciting. So sometimes and occasionally to just double check something like something I don't do, like does Kansas law provide for mitigation of damages, something like that, like really quick. That's not something that I work on all the time. So I've used it a lot, quite frankly.
For wordsmithing, the occasional wordsmithing. Scott, what about you? Kende.
Anything that I put in the freezer, sometimes something like chewy, like whether it's gummy bears or Twizzlers. But as Michael closes us out, I do want to thank Burns & McDonnell and Bank of Blue Valley for making this show possible. But Michael, what's your favorite piece of candy, and how do you want to close us out before we wave at the camera?
Paul Fogel says Circus peanuts are available at any Crumbie hardware store checkout aisle. Thank you for that piece of nugget of information. Oh, I'm Reese's peanut butter cups all the way.
Oh, good one. Yeah.
All the way. And now
Buttercup.
you're inspired me to put them in the freezer. And I'm going to take one last second. I'm going to make a shameless plug, Scott, because you know what I'm doing now. Well, you guys know that I'm at Lily and James, but guess what? We've started a brand new personal branding program.
Great plug.
But now we're doing it for realsies. And I think
it's a great idea.
I know. I always tell people personal branding is like if a tree falls in the woods and no one hears it, did it actually fall? Well, guess what? Personal branding is like if you do a bunch of really good things and no one knows about it, did you actually do them? What? So that's my shameless, blatant plug. I think
it's a really good plug, and it would just not to go on about Lily and James. I mean, like, wow, I was like, wow. I mean, you guys have always done that, but it's like,
it's like we're the new
triple down on what you're great at.
I love it. I know.
I have my appointment scheduled with y'all.
I know. Very exciting. We're excited to chat. Chachatsky. So if you're looking for personal branding, I know a guy.
All right. Well, we're going to wave at our camera, and then it's going to take about 3 seconds, and then it will shut off. But thank you for watching. Thank you, Burns & McDonnell, and thank you, Bank of Blue Valley.